Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So Tarek and our long-running series, the Unported playlist, where I take a look at my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and today we're playing Mystic Riders from Irem, released in 1993. If you can't tell already, it's a horizontal cute-em-up shmup that has a lot of cotton vibes going on, but for as fun as this game is to look at and is to play, do not get lulled in with a false sense of security from the cute-em-up nature. This game is absolutely hard as nails. When you get to later stages, it is going to back alley mug you for your quarters and leave you for dead. That doesn't mean it's not fun though, it just means that you're gonna have to spend a lot of time practicing to be able to beat a game like this. And it's obviously that Irem was inspired a little bit by Cotton, because this does have the same similar vibe, and it's definitely a popular subgenre of shmups because Cave would do the same thing with Death Smiles in the future. But right off the top, I love this game. It's colorful, it's cute, it's got a lot of fun things to look at, and it also gives you that classic shmup difficulty. This is going to make you learn the patterns in every single boss movement. There is a lot of screen space management here, and you'll see in the first boss, as it undulates around, you want to try to find a safe space, but until you memorize it, you're not going to be quite sure where you need to move. Some areas of the screen are going to allow you to attack without taking any damage whatsoever. Other areas are going to trap you into them, so you need to 100% understand all of the patterns. This is the type of game that is going to take you a long time to learn, but you're going to have so much fun learning it. Now on the mechanic side of things, you have a basic shot that you power up by collecting these crystals. You also can throw your broom out in any different direction, and the exhaust coming out of your broom, seems like it is jet powered, will do damage to enemies as well if you're careful and back up into them. Now the hitbox definitely can be a little bit unfair, so you want to make sure you totally understand your character's hitbox before you start trying to do those touching attacks, because it's as likely as you're going to die a few times as it is you're going to be putting any damage into an enemy. But I also love that you can independently scroll the screen as well on this. As you move up and down in some areas, you can make the screen move up and down as well. Sometimes you're going to be out in the open and nothing's going on. Other times it's going to slow you down into these little basically death trap corridors here, making you manage not many enemies, but enemies that are hard to hit at their current configuration on the screen. But I absolutely love that as a mechanic. It feels very R-Type or Pulsar on Neo Geo to me, and it does work. Now I will say every once in a while, the game can feel like it's going to give you a few cheap deaths. That enemy, the boss right now, was forming off screen, and those rocks were already something that could affect us before the boss had even formed. It feels like there should be some invincibility frames right there until you've actually seen the boss once, but it just doesn't work like that. But you'll see here, using that exhaust, if you back up just right, you're able to reconfigure the boss back into his normal damageable form, and that's going to be a big component, at least some areas of the game. Your broom and its exhaust are going to be such a big attack for you. You really need to learn how to use it, because it works in an 8-way directional system. Whichever way you're pushing, if you release the broom, it's going to go the opposite direction, and you have 8 different ways that you can send that broom out. It's going to be your long range attack, especially useful in areas like that where I just got killed where I should have dropped down, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to actually line up with what you're shooting at. You need to use that broom and its ability to move in 8 different directions to be able to better perform at the game. But again, as we get further in, I just love how gigantic the sprites are in Mystic Riders. They definitely have some slowdown here and there, but sometimes the screen is going to be 2/3 to 3/4 filled with one enemy that you need to move around with. My only strike I set against the game is probably that the hitbox feels a little bit too big in comparison to what's actually going on screen. But you'll see here that broom definitely helped us out until we got nailed off screen. A lot of times the game will put you in a place where you're going to be blind to attacks, so this is definitely one that's going to be pure rote memorization for you to get to the end with any sort of good score. And if you want a 1cc on this one, you better be prepared to sink a lot of hours into it, because every stage is different. The patterns are unique and organic, and it's going to take you a long time to learn all of the patterns, especially when the boss sprites are this big on the screen. But the music in this game is fun, charming, and fits the fantasy aesthetic really well, and because it uses that FM synth chip, it's going to have a really unique sound. So go ahead and listen to it for a second, and I'll be right back. It's a super fun soundtrack, definitely a B+ grade on that, but I will say that sometimes the sound effects can be a little bit grating and over top of the music. But you'll see here as I get stuck in this very narrow corridor, that's what this game is going to do more often than not. If you're not in an open area, it is going to basically set you up in these little kill traps that you're going to have to skillfully navigate around. When you do it successfully, you feel like you're almost invincible, and when you get hit, you realize if you had just moved ever so slightly differently, you probably would have been able to get through it. And that's the fun part of this game. It does make you want to get better, and it's one of those games that I'm really not that great at. And be aware that not every single game I play on Unported Playlist or on the channel I have played an absolute metric crap ton of. Probably haven't played Mystic Rider since the core came out for Mr. FPGA. And if you do have a Mr., it's 100% the way you should be playing this, but it works great on MAME as well. But as you see the next boss here, he has these tentacles that grab you and pull you in, so you now need to worry about avoiding those while also using your broom. The broom is going to be your long-ranged attack, and it does more damage more effectively than your actual shot, but if you learn how to combine your movement with your shot and the broom at the same time, that is when you're really going to start doing some massive damage, and you have to keep collecting those crystals to make sure you level up. That's going to be such an important mechanic in the game. But as we defeated the first stage of this boss, and this little squid comes down and attaches to her back here, and now we have a situation where we can only attack in one direction. This game is definitely going to make you use strategy. It's not the type of shmup where you just unload on the boss and avoid the bullets. We now need to deal with getting behind her so we can actually attack the eye at the same time. I would say this is probably the hardest boss in the game, and it's not the last boss in the game either. They just decided they needed some extra quarters in the middle, and you're 100% going to have to pay to see the end of this game until you learn absolutely everything about it. But that is the fun part. It's a cute, charming, colorful cute-em-up shmup, but it plays like it's the hardest bullet hell game you've ever played, except it's not actually a bullet hell game in and of itself. And that's just down to the fact that everything is so organic in this. Enemies move in different directions, there's so much on screen at once, and I am just playing this on normal difficulty. If you jack the difficulty up to hard, this is going to be one of, in my opinion, the hardest horizontal shmups you can play of this era. But that's always where the fun is. People don't play shmups because they're easy. They play so they can run through the game 50 or 100 times and try to get better at it, and this one is definitely going to give you that longevity. And I can't say enough good about the character design either. This gigantic skeleton, who also has a skull for his pelvis, don't understand that, but it's just how it is, works in the context of the game, and I love the sprite sizes that they push around in this as well. Feels very In the Hunt, except for the fantasy setting versus that military sub-setting going on. It's just a classic that I feel like not as many people know about, and I love that we also have mimic chests at the bottom there. If you see a purple chest, be very aware it's not there to give you anything good. It is there to kill you and take another quarter out of your pocket. But that's why I love games like this. The worse I am at them when I haven't played in a while, the more motivated I get to actually perform better and understand what the game's asking of me. Especially in the bosses, if you learn the strategy, there are areas where you are safe, and there are different movement patterns that you can do that basically will make it so that you're able to easily defeat the boss. But it is all just straight memorization. Every boss has a unique pattern, but if you learn it, you can predict what they're going to be doing, and that's the great thing about a shmup. Suddenly, what seems to be an insurmountable cause, trying to beat a game with any sort of good performance, becomes almost second nature when you learn that muscle memory. And Mystic Riders has a ton of that for you here, and it's married together with some awesome graphics. I just love this golden hour sunset here going through the clouds while these orange ghosts attack us. But I'm going to give you one more sample of the soundtrack because I really do like this next track, and I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about the game and my thoughts on it. But enjoy! It's just a fun soundtrack as we move on to the final boss here, another epically hard battle. Mystic Rider is just one of those games. It doesn't get mentioned near as much as I think it deserves, and I bet that that's down just to the fact that it wasn't as popular back in the day, and it does have some exceedingly high difficulty factor to it. But if you're looking for a new shmup to play, a new shmup to learn and get better at, one that maybe you haven't checked out that much, you could do a lot worse than this game. It is a fun time, you just need to learn it and get better at it, and that's the thing about pretty much every shmup. I'm a lot better at bullet hell shmups than I am horizontal Q-em-ups, but I am going to be playing more of this game in the future to try to get better, just to better understand the mechanics of the game. But Irem made some amazing arcade boards and some amazing arcade shmups, and this one is definitely in that list. So if you've never played Mystic Riders before, I can't recommend it enough, and if you have played it, leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. And if you have any recommendations for future unported playlist videos and games to play, leave them down below, and you never know, it just might show up. Short of that, the boss is dead and I am done. Bye bye.